As the acting director mentioned, my name is Ben Nichols, and I am the academic chair for transnational threats and counterterrorism at the Africa Center. And I'm going to talk a bit about political oversight, specifically legislative oversight, as we begin this morning. I'll soon be joined by a couple of my colleagues. We are very fortunate to have General from Burundi, who's been traveling for many days given the weather, and has made it here to address us this morning, and he's will be joining me shortly up here to give his remarks. But I wanted to open by talking a bit in a general frame about political oversight of the security sector in Central Africa, and I wanted to focus, as I mentioned, mainly on legislative oversight. And basically, I've organized my talk around four simple but what I consider to be critical points. So the first of the 4 points I want to make about political oversight is that public oversight of a security sector is highly desirable. It may seem unusual or surprising to some that we begin by talking about legislative or executive oversight when we're talking about security sector reform. We've gathered to talk about the security sector. How is it that we're talking about national assemblies or senates, for example? It turns out there are many reasons for this. Experts in the field of SSR have identified numerous benefits that are associated with political oversight of security, especially by the legislative branch. And I think if we bundle them together, I would highlight three. One benefit is that political oversight sets the legal parameters for security actors and actions. The legislative branch, in conjunction with the executive, adopts the laws that establish the legality of security activities in a country. It's in so doing, then, that the legislature has a role in shaping security and making sure it fits within the rule of law, and also it then has a stake in making sure that the laws that it has passed are implemented. So this parameter setting function is important for legitimacy, making sure that security actions take place within the rule of law with respect for human rights, adherence to international norms, and so on. It also holds forth the promise of a coordinated national security strategy. Political oversight is not simply oversight of the military. It's oversight of police, border forces, presidential guards, immigration and customs, intelligence services, and so on. And so the legislature has the opportunity to have a bird's eye view of all of a country's security actors. And it has an opportunity to organize and articulate a nation's national security strategy. A second benefit of oversight. Political oversight controls the budget for security actors. Most parliaments are given the responsibility of funding government activity, and in fact, this is the legislator's greatest counterbalance to executive branch oversight. So budgetary oversight is also crucial. It helps for transparency and accountability and fiscal responsibility, and it also facilitates a public discourse about the use of public funds for security. And this is really key because security is a very expensive, large ticket national item. I looked through some of CIPRI's data for the period since 2000 for the countries in ECAS, Central Africa. And in general, national budgets often dedicated 1.5 to 2.5% of the budget just to military, and that's just what's as the budget is reported. And in many cases, it was more like 3 or 4% dedicated to just the military as just a part of the security sector. And in one case in 2001, it reached up to 8% in Burundi. So a large part of the budget goes toward the military, toward the security sector. And then the last and most important benefit and why political oversight of the security sector is so desirable is that it increases democracy. Political oversight enhances the separation of powers. The legislature has a role in oversight along with the executive. And oversight encourages public conversation about security. And it also creates a connection to the people. Due to oversight, elected officials must become able to articulate security to local constituents. Through such explanations, the nation's citizens come to understand that they have a stake in the security of the nation. And this entire exchange and familiarity between civilian authorities and security sector authorities enhances civil and security sector relations. I think on this last point, I would emphasize that, when Julie was up here earlier in the week, she mentioned that security sector reform aims at both effectiveness or efficiency and also legitimacy. And I think I would maybe argue that it's really effectiveness and democracy or democratic aspects of the security sector. And I think that this legislative oversight and political oversight plays a strong role in creating that legitimacy for the security sector. So that's the first point. My first big point is simply that political oversight of a security sector is indeed highly desirable. The second general point I'd like to make this morning. If we agree that oversight is desirable, what are the prospects for such oversight in Central Africa? I think that we could say that this effort at oversight faces some challenges in the sub-region. It faces challenges that are general, that occur in all cases of efforts at political oversight, and some that are specific to the sub-region. On general points, I would mention three. Secrecy is one challenge to political oversight. Security can be difficult to oversee due to secrecy of several sorts. Cultures of secrecy can surround security forces, making them reticent about sharing information. And poor legal frameworks can actually perpetuate or even require secrecy when it's not useful. A second point is complexity. The security sector is complex, and overseers do not always have the requisite knowledge about security issues, access to expertise, people they can call upon for analysis, or the time and resources to consider in-depth security questions. And I would add to this that parliamentarians are not always reelected. They're not always reassigned to the same subcommittees, so building expertise within oversight bodies can be a challenge. And the last point, a general point that I think is not always emphasized, is transnationalism. The fact that so many of the challenges require cooperation among nations means that the executive can sometimes get involved in making commitments or involvements with other countries and leave the legislature behind. So those are some general points about why political oversight is difficult. I think in Central Africa there are a couple of specific challenges associated with political oversight and legislative oversight. One is excessively powerful executives. Many Central African nations have disproportionately strong heads of state. Second challenge that's specific to the sub-region, I think, is some institutional and political weakness. Politically, Central Africa marks as the least free sub-region on the continent, according to Freedom House, if you look at the countries. And also, Central African nations have had a challenge of thoroughgoing national integration, which means that various parliamentarians can come with different forms of influence and interests that can create a challenge in creating a national security strategy and oversight in a national sense. And then corruption is also a challenge in the sub-region. A third specific challenge to the sub-region are budget shortfalls. Public budgets do not always reflect the enormous wealth that exists and is exploited within countries, and when national budgets are not large, it reduces the power of the legislature in its oversight function. So second point are a handful of challenges that exist within Central Africa to security sector oversight, oversight of the security sector. A third general point I'll make briefly. Just want to point out that other nations and subregions have overcome difficulties to political oversight in the security sector. I have a variety of examples, but I would just encourage us to look at some of the materials in the syllabus and also at the that are collected by DCAF or that are done by DCAF in Geneva, which has a great deal of research on this. But there are examples coming from Central Asia, from countries in Asia, Latin America, and elsewhere in Africa. In West Africa, there are a variety of examples. Most of these examples suggest that the challenge of oversight in the security sector is a widespread challenge. It exists across the globe. But the legislatures often make incremental steps or incremental progress rather than kind of all at once establishing complete oversight. They are able to set parameters here or maybe raise public discourse there, increase budgetary controls on some occasions, increase their own expertise on others, and so on. Then my last, fourth and final point is that I think there are a variety of steps that could be taken in Central Africa just now, right now, to improve political oversight of the security sector. I'll just offer a couple suggestions as my closing remarks. One is I think that it's possible to take concrete steps to build legislative capability. Simple actions can be taken to strengthen the role of legislative bodies. Security forces can work to ensure that the legislature's role is taken seriously. They can voluntarily increase their engagement with the legislature and make sure that they are enacting complete compliance and reporting to the legislature to reflect its rights. It could also build bridges between the security sector and the legislature. I think in this, the long-term benefits of building legislative capability is a better balance and separation of powers within the political sphere, and it could ultimately generate more democracy, which is better for security in the long run. A second concrete action that could be taken, to be as public as possible. Security actors can take stock to weed out any unnecessary secrecy, especially around questions of budgets or personnel or mission sets. I think some of the long-term benefits here would be wider social buy-in for security decisions, greater tolerance for secrecy when it's genuinely necessary, and greater trust, public trust for the security sector. And then the last concrete action is to simply see the strength of complementarity. It's critical for security forces and civilian representatives to achieve a shared view of oversight. For each side to work to inculcate a positive perspective about that relationship. The aim of oversight is to have balance and separation of powers. It's not a story of civilians bringing the military or security actors to heel. It's important to overcome a zero-sum logic about the power of oversight. It's rather a story of sharing responsibility. I would say that building oversight is like building strong pillars that support a house. No house can stand on the strength of one pillar alone, just as no nation can be stable if the elements of its government and society are out of balance. You could think of building oversight like training both legs to run. If the security sector and the civilian actors are both strong, you'll be able to go fast and far. So these are the four general points that I wanted to make this morning. It's my pleasure to join the general here this morning and to contribute a few ideas before he gives us a much more concrete case study. So thanks very much for your attention.